All right, we're here in week 7. We are officially halfway through. Is everybody glad for that?
Yes.
Okay, glad for that, but we're not. It's that middle of the course where it gets just to be sometimes hard, sometimes dull, sometimes just tedious. And I hope I'm not talking about my teaching. Hopefully that's not any of those things. But that's your opinion. You'll let me know if that's right or not. But I wanted to take just a minute and read in Alma chapter 34, verse 39, and this is somewhat applicable to where we are in the semester, but I think applicable to life in general. It says, "Yea, and I would exhort you, my brethren, that ye would be watchful unto prayer continually, that ye may not be led away by the temptations of the devil, that he may not he may not overpower you, and that ye may not become subjects at the last day. For behold, he rewardeth you no good thing." So I'm going to focus on the first part of that verse. Is I would exhort you, my brethren, and of course we know that's all of us, that ye be watchful unto prayer continually. I think whether it's avoiding temptation, like the rest of that verse talks about, or just help, or just coping, or whatever you want to call it, we're exhorted to pray continually. And I think it's important to remember, and we can't get told that enough, that we need to pray continually. We need to pray for things we need. We pray, as we've been taught many times, to be grateful, and pray in lots of things, not just for one thing, but for others, for ourselves, for circumstances, whatever the case may be. And certainly, like I said, prayers of gratitude, where we don't ask for anything at all. So I think that that's important, and we really need to make sure that we're doing our best to make sure that our prayers reach our Heavenly Father and His Son, Jesus Christ. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. Before we start, any questions, concerns, any items we need to talk about administratively for the 5 of you that are gracious enough to be here?
Brother Bonnie, when we turn in the paper again, this next, with the doohickey, will that be emailed to you again?
Yes, let's just do that. We've had too many issues with that other part. And the only thing I would add for those that are watching and watching the recording is just please give me your full group, and then also as the group leader, grade those that participated with you, A, B, C, D, F, and then let me know if there's concerns on someone not participating. So that seemed to work well last time, and we can adjust scores accordingly. They don't necessarily go up. So if you get an A and you get an A on participation, it doesn't give you an A plus or anything like that, but it can go down if you're doing the paper and someone in your group has not participated. We can certainly mark accordingly. Rex, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Other questions from anybody? Okay. If you think of them, let me know. We'll go from there. All right. Well, like I said, I appreciate you guys all being here. So let's talk. I want to start with, and if I get my mouse to work. For some reason, apparently I had a key that was stuck where we've got many lines of text. So apparently I've killed the text line for tonight. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Do that. I'm not quite sure what happened there. All right. So let's talk. I love tonight's discussion. Let's talk about careers. What is, either from your text or your experience, what is a career and how is it different from a job?
I would think that a career kind of has a like a purpose. You know, it's long term, you have a goal you're setting, and you decide what you want for the long term, whereas a job is just kind of what you're doing right now. I think that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Kristen. Okay. And by the way, this topic is full of opinions. There are no black and white answers, and I think that's a great one to start with. So what else? What do you guys think?
I think a career is something you're more vested in because it's, like Kristen said, it's not just a job that you can just up and leave, but it's something that you're truly vested in and interested in.
Okay. Is it too far, Melissa, to say that you're something you're passionate about?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. All right. What do the rest do you think? What's a career, and how is it different from a job?
I think it's something that you enjoy doing. Job is something just to get you by for a certain amount of time.
Okay. Okay. Good, Quincy. Thanks. Others? Tina, Rex?
I think with a career, if you map it out right, you can grow and change with that employer or with that career field.
Okay. Absolutely, Tina. Great thought.
Yeah,
Rex?
I've had a business I've had for myself since '86, which I enjoy doing, but I've also seen it more as a job versus a career, but I really enjoyed doing it. But there was no place for me to go unless I grew my business somehow.
Okay. All right. So career, so you've kind of blended these two. You have career, you say it's something you like, but it's not something that's growing and taking off and you're hiring 30 people and that type of thing. Is that what I hear you saying, Rex?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Does a career have to be or look a certain way? And for example, does it have to be what Rex said? Or could it be a career can be, you know what, I love doing this. I'm not making a fortune. I'm keeping a roof over my head. And I don't want to grow it. I don't want a headache of doing X, Y, or Z. Can that still be a career?
That's kind of my question.
Okay. Well, let's see what the group has to say. I have an opinion, but I'll go last. So take Rex's comment and my comment. Can that be what we call a career?
It could be if that's where you're happy.
Okay.
And it fills your passion.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Tina. Others? Anybody? Are we all still here? I see heads moving, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, you are. Okay.
I think that we can be able to have both a career and maybe even if it is something that doesn't make a lot of money, but we do good with what we have, and we're able to enjoy that. I'm the same sort of way. I had a small business for the past 8 years, and I see it more of a job right now, but it could turn into a career, something that I've enjoyed doing.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to throw a few things on the board over here. I think I'm going to come back to Tina's definition. I want to make a real loose definition of what a career is, because I think it's what makes you happy. A career doesn't need to be a white collar job. It doesn't need to be something you have because of a college degree. Doesn't mean it can't be, but it can be the opposite too. And the best example I have a career, my dad served in World War II, had a couple of small jobs before that, got out of the Navy and worked for the city of Los Angeles for 49 years. And the entire time, he read electric meters and water meters. That's all he ever did. He walked around the hills of southern part of Los Angeles, He got to know people in his area. He was friendly. People knew who he was. He was outside. He got to walk. He didn't get stuck behind a desk. He just loved it. And now, in today's world, he'd have probably starved to death. Back then, it was a fairly decent paying job. He, in my mind, was a great example of a career, but it was not glamorous at all. I mean, he did 50 years of basically manual labor and loved it. So I think it's really important for us not to make a career something that it isn't. So I'm going to come back, Rex, to your question and say, I think exactly, if you have something you like that you're doing, that, and this is Quincy's comment too, I think it's a great career. Now, it may not pay much, and you may actually have to have a job to supplement your career. But I think it's whatever you want it to be. I'm coming back to Tina's comment, and it's whatever makes you happy. Because here's another one that works. How many of you would consider being a mother a career? And a lot of times that pays what?
It should pay more than it does, but a lot of times it pays zero.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, in some cases, it costs you.
Yeah.
Moms suffer health-wise. They suffer, their career gets put on hold. Again, and thank goodness for mothers. My point is, I want to make sure we make a career what it needs to be. Now, a career can also be a high-paying job. It can be, what I do as a career. I've always done HR work. Ever since I got out of college, that's what I've done. It's all I've wanted to do. And I have my degrees in that, et cetera. So it can be anywhere from that to anything at all. Other comments? What do you guys think? Yes, no, am I wrong?
I agree. I tend to think that a career is kind of what you do for till you retire, if that sort of makes sense. And like Tina said, what you enjoy doing.
Okay. Other thoughts?
So, can you have a career and not enjoy it? I mean, maybe you started into a career and found out, well, this is not what I really want.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great question. Okay. My next question. Rex, you're my straight man today. Okay. How many careers do average Americans have in their lifetime? Is it just one?
No.
Okay. What's the number?
I think they're now saying it's something like 4 or 5.
Okay. And I've heard that number as high as 7. Now, again, that's an average. That's just a number. That doesn't mean anything. So if you have a career and you're going, I'm not having any more fun at this. Okay. Well, so let's say, Rex, you love your business. 2 years from now, you say, it's not fun anymore. I want to try something different. And we're not talking about midlife crisis kind of different. We're talking about, I want to try something different for whatever reason that might be. Maybe, I guess, even a midlife crisis, so to speak. So when you look at that, I think what you can say is we can have multiple careers. So how do you pick a career? How do you change a career? And how do you do that? I mean, and I've got a story to tell that goes along with that. So how do you do that? What do you pick a career as? And if you don't like it, how do you change it?
I think there's lots of ways to do it. One, I went to my son's 9th grade orientation, and the teacher, he said that he had 2 bachelors and 2 masters. So, he did the education route where he went and got 1 degree and then went back and got another degree. I know my husband, he got a degree in civil engineering, but he liked programming better. And so his career is in programming.
Okay. So he made a decision. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Other thoughts on how you start a career, or how do you change one?
I think sometimes we do a career out of being able to support our families, and then we also change our careers to be able to support our hobbies, our habits, and things like that.
Okay, very good. Lots of people follow their passions later in life and say, you know, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing. I'm going to try something different, and I don't care about what it looks like. I'm going to go do my thing. Okay. All right. Other thoughts on starting and changing?
Unfortunately, it happens when you get laid off.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Okay. Okay. It does. Melissa, were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think sometimes a career can start out as a job that we defined as earlier, and you find that it's something that you are passionate about, and it changes into a career.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. When you look at this, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is that now you guys aren't the typical 20-year-old freshman in college crowd. No offense, but most of our BYUI online students aren't. Okay, Rex is smiling. I was referring directly to you, Rex, in case you were checking. Okay. All right. Most of us don't fit that bill. So, you know, I think the thing that I find all the time is people do what they do because they don't feel like they have any options. And I guess I'd like for everybody tonight and then everybody watching to realize you do have options. Maybe they're not immediate. Maybe you can't just flip a switch. But I don't want people to go through life either doing a job or a career they don't like, because I think they can find a way to do it. I mean, how many times do you read the stories of the 75-year-old graduate with a master's degree or a bachelor's degree or something like that? We see those in the news and it makes our heart feel good and think, man, way to go. But then we go on doing our same old thing that we may like or we may not like. And I think what it is people are afraid to make a decision. And I'm not trying to be critical on all of us or any of us, but we go and do what we know will put food on the table. And then our dream or our passion kind of goes and fades away. Now, that may not be a bad thing, but it may not be a great thing either. And again, do you guys know anybody that just does what they do because they haven't had the ability to make a decision to change? Any personal experiences there?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who absolutely hates what he does, or he's retired now just recently, but he hated it. He repaired fax machines and copiers, and he worked for two big companies, and every day all you heard from him was, I can't stand my job, I hate this job, but I can't go anywhere. He trapped himself with this attitude in that job.
Okay. Is he happier in retirement, Rex?
A little bit, but I think he still has the same mentality, which doesn't help him.
Okay. Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother night. Okay. All right. What do you guys think? What else? Anybody know people like that are either unhappy with a job or made a decision to change something? Welcome back, Melissa.
Oh yeah, I've seen that multiple times, where people think they can't get paid better, so they just hang out where they're at, and as long as they're getting like satisfactory on their appraisal, they don't care.
Okay. All right. And to me, and I'm not, if that's you or anybody else that's listening, I don't mean to fault, but to me that is so sad. Because there's lots of ways to make money to put food on the table. And I guess two things. One is fear of the unknown, fear of trying something different. And I think it's important, we are taught in the gospel that fear is not good. And you don't want to be crazy and, walk off your job and have nothing saved and think, well, whatever the case might be, I'll be fine. And maybe you did that, I don't know. But most of the part, that's not what I'm recommending. But, within a year or two, you could probably put something in place to make a change. And I think that some people don't do that, and they stay doing the same thing because they don't like it. So, other thoughts on that? Welcome, Ticia.
I did have a quick thought on it. So I had, so I've always done farming throughout my life, and I didn't think I'd ever really do any much more than that. And then last week had the opportunity to be part of a jury, and on a murder case, and I found it. I'd never thought I'd be intrigued or anything of that sort of courts and things like that, and it was very intriguing. Just something new, different, and it kind of changed my mindset of all the different things that are out there.
Okay. Does that mean that you're going to give up farming, Quincy?
Definitely not.
Okay. Okay. Now, and I'm glad you brought that up, because hobbies and interests and other things are great. We want to have those, but what we're talking about is a career, whether it's paid or not. We had the example of a mom as an unpaid but awesome career. And that's easy for me to say. I'm not the one that had to do it. But when you look at that, I think the key is that we have to make a decision, and we have to take charge of it for ourselves. If you love what you do and you keep going, whether it pays a lot or not, I think you're in good shape. If you don't like, to Rex's example, I think we have a problem that says you need to do something about that. Agree, and we're talking, TC, about careers, in case you hadn't figured that out from our discussion here. So, other thoughts? What do you guys think?
Yeah, Brother Bonnie, I think sometimes that change comes when it's more painful to stay where you're at than to face the unknown or take that chance. I know when I started my business, it's because I finally had enough of where I was working. I just couldn't take it anymore, and I thought, okay, I'll take what I learned here and create my own business. But I had to reach that point of pain first.
Okay, and that's one motivator. And here's the question, Rex, is what would happen if you had done that 5 years before? Would life have been better?
Yes, much better.
Okay.
It changed overnight because my health and everything improved.
Okay, good. And I'm glad you did when you did. But I think so many of us are afraid of what might be out there that we don't change, or we wait too long until the pain is so unbearable. And what would we do if we back that up 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? What would life be like if we did, I'm going to do it now. I'm not going to wait 6 more years or 2 more years. And that's what I'm encouraging all of us to do, is to say, where's my career? What is it, is it going the way I want it to? Am I doing what I need to? Now, let me ask you this. How many of you think you're going to school to enhance, change, or better your career? What do you guys think? Yes, no?
No, that's not the reason why I decided to do school.
Okay, that's cool. And again, there's not a right or wrong answer. Anybody else volunteer an opinion?
I always think education helps with whatever you're doing. And so I tend to think that any education helps me as an individual and can help in whatever I'm doing.
Okay, so you're probably sounding like you're siding with Tina then, I would say, Kristen.
I guess I don't know what you mean.
meaning Tina said she didn't go back to school to change careers. You're saying kind of the same thing. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Others, what do you guys think?
I did go back to school to change my career. I decided later and took a while to figure out what I did want to do. And the way to get to where I wanted to go was to go to school and finish up a bachelor's degree. So that was my main purpose.
Okay, great.
And I also think it helps with networking, being able to learn about different people, different aspects, and kind of change our own views and opinions.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Quincy. All right. You see any thoughts as you've listened for the last little while?
Well, I finally finished my dinner. So,
Okay.
no, I did not go back to school to enhance my career. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I don't know if I'll ever work, but I've always wanted the degree. I've always wanted to get the college education, and it was finally time to finish it. And who knows, I might go back to work, but it's not on the near horizon.
Okay. All right. Well, I think the thing that I'd like to kind of put out there is, so for anybody, including the group here tonight, so you've got a career, it may be great, it may not be great. So how can we, if we're going along and we want to change that direction, what can we do to make that happen? Let's give some pointers to do that. And again, we may not have all the answers. Hopefully we can fill in the blanks. What do we do to make that different? How do we change it? How do we make a difference in our lives that way, for us or for a family member or a friend?
Well, in my last job, when I had to work with people, I would ask them 3 things about their career: what they liked doing, what did they dislike doing, and did something change that they're no longer doing that they want to go back to?
Okay. And how do those questions work, Tina?
Well, they were kind of open-ended, but it allowed people to think about their jobs and where did they really want to go next. Because it might not be in the same career field. It might have been, oh, maybe I need to go try something else instead.
Okay. All right. Others?
I think the biggest step to
change. Go ahead.
Well, I think the biggest step to change is learning to accept that there is always change, whether we want there to be or not. And whether we get ourselves there or something propels us to it, we have to accept that it's going to happen. And then, like Tina's saying, you kind of need to just investigate what you want to do and see if that's even a possibility.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Other thoughts on changing a career?
I think we might change who we may be around, our social group. That if you want to be in a certain area, different people you're around is going to help you get to that area.
Okay. And that could also be a networking thing as well as just social friends type of thing. Is that right, Quincy?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I think one of the things I would want to come back to that we talked about already is actually making a decision. Okay. I'm not sure what your Sunday school lesson was, but in the last few weeks, we've talked about Oliver Cowdery and his ability to decide. And the Lord told him, I expect you to, and I'm paraphrasing like crazy, to study it out in your mind, make a decision, and then ask me if it be right. The Lord expects us to do something about it, because some of the worst careers I've seen are somebody that waits for somebody to make that decision for them. I don't know, I'd like to do this, maybe I'd like to do that, and they end up drifting through life, and they can find themselves at the end of their life going, I still don't know what I wanted to do all those years. Do you know anybody like that? Ron's smiling. He must know somebody like that. Rex, sorry. My brain took a little field trip there. Sorry, Rex.
That's okay. I'm a high priest group leader in our ward, and I work with a lot of people with their finances and things. And in the process, I've met people just like that. Their next job happens by circumstance. They get up each day with no plan, they have no direction, and life just kind of takes them wherever it takes them. They never make a decision of any kind.
Okay. And in my book, I would rather have somebody make a wrong decision than no decision at all.
Same here.
And again, the Lord can help us make decisions, because some of these are pretty big. I mean, I'm assuming that there was a prayer or two said before you guys started going back to school or continuing to school, depending on how old you are. And that you asked for direction, but you still had to make the decision yourself. And again, the example I would give that is personal is that I had a family member that didn't know what they wanted to do, so they got a job at Subway. Well, 25 years later, they're still managing a Subway. All right. Now, if that's your passion, awesome. but that wasn't this person's passion. It was just a job that they never took the time to do something different for. And I think from a career perspective, that's just sad. And again, back to the 4, 5, 6, or 7 careers, there's nothing wrong with picking one and saying, "Uh-oh, that didn't work. Let me try it again." Now, sooner or later, it's nice to settle down and not just keep picking careers until you're 90 and, that kind of thing. But I think it's choose, make a decision, take it to the Lord, get validation, do your best. And then if it doesn't work and you don't feel comfortable, make a change. And that's an okay thing to make a change in those circumstances. Again, the last thing we want to do is just go through life, let the wind blow us where we will. Especially if you live in Idaho, that could be a problem. Because if you do that up here, you might just, who knows where you're going to end up. So am I just flapping my gums with hot air, or what's the application of what we've talked about tonight? Well, what's the so what?
For me, the so what is that we need to decide on something and make a plan towards it. You can't just say, I want to be a lawyer, and then stay at Subway, not doing anything about it. You have to actually work towards something.
Okay, so if you want to be that lawyer, maybe you're an ag lawyer or something because you love farming. But you know what? And if you choose, I'm just winging it here. So just, if you tell me to shut up, I'll listen. But, it's that, hey, you know what? I love this, but I want to do this. You know what? Let's go see what that looks like. And again, I'm just completely winging it. Please don't take that as career advice, because it's not. But great, Ticia, thank you for that. That's good. So what else is the so what with all this?
I think you can't be afraid. I started my business. I got sick from my business, and so I had to start a second one. And the second business I went into was really bad. I mean, it was going to fail from the day I started it. I didn't realize it at first. I was in it in 10 years. And then I've come back to the business I really love, and I'm doing that again. And so it's okay to make a mistake. You'll get corrected. Nature seems to correct you, or the Lord, or whatever. But you'll get corrected.
Okay, that's great advice, Rex. Thank you. Quincy, you were going to say something.
Yes, I think also is to help others, because there's family members or people around us that have those same questions, that we can be able to prayerfully help them with that. Our siblings or children or whatever the case is.
Okay, very good advice. And I think one of the ways we can do that is if we see someone that's just kind of languishing in a career or a job, and they say, well, I don't have time to go to school, or I don't have time to learn a trade, or I don't have time to do this. But 5 years from now, are they going to be saying the same thing? And could they have done something in that time if they just started now? Okay, and again, doesn't mean everybody has to go get a college degree. That's not what I'm talking about. I spent the afternoon with somebody at my work whose husband is a welder and absolutely loves it. And he's going to make a great living and be just completely happy doing that creative thing that would probably make me crazy because I wouldn't know how to do it, but that's a passion of his. So, it's that one he's following, and thankfully somebody's going to do that, because we need more welders in the world, and a lot of other people that aren't going to get college degrees because they don't need one. So other so what thoughts on how this applies? These are great thoughts. Thank you all.
I like how you started out saying that there isn't a certain path to get to a career. There's many different roads that will lead you to where you want to go, or there's many different types of jobs, and you don't have to do a certain thing because everyone thinks you need to. I think that's liberating, and I like that thought.
Okay, and I firmly believe that. The HR world is exactly that. There are very few people like me that got a first degree in HR, got a second degree in HR, and all of our jobs have been in human resources. There are very few people like me. And I'm not saying that's good. It's probably a much better way than I did it. But there's lots of people that started out in an operations job and said, you know, I deal with people all the time. I'm going to try this. Or they started here and ended up, I would say 90% of HR people had no plan on ever being there. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what that is. But that's a great career for lots of people. And to Kristen's point, they didn't expect it, but they took advantage of it when they saw something that was interesting to them. So, Kristen, that's a good comment. And again, not just the HR example, it can be anything. It's like, you know, this is kind of cool. I'd like to do this for a living. And I think, again, it's that following passion, following that what's fun, interesting. Work is work. You're not going to get a free ride anywhere, but you might as well do what you enjoy. And Rex's example was perfect. Hey, I did this, didn't work out. I did it too long. I did it 10 years. Maybe it wasn't too long, Rex, so please don't let me put words in your mouth. But I went back and did what I liked, and it's working well all the way from my health being better to what I'm doing and enjoying that from what we're hearing and putting words in Rex's mouth. So I apologize for that. So other so what's? Melissa, any thoughts from you on this?
I think that's what happened for me. I'd seen take a path in HR, and that's what I became interested in. And so on my part, it took action in what do I need to do to get there. And part of that is going back to school, but it's something that I had to act upon to reach that goal.
Okay. I think, unless I'm wrong, one of you that's here tonight has a phone call with me tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk about HR careers, how you get there, what it looks like, that type of thing. And so, again, that there's lots of ways to make this happen, and it can be for any career. You can start it today. Sometimes there's practical concerns, sometimes there's not. And sometimes the career is something you work 10 years on the side to get the skill you need, and then you make a jump. So that's kind of how you look at that. So other so what thoughts? We can do this or do with this, apply this, make it work.
As you were talking, I realized, you know, sometimes we don't know what's available until we're exposed to it.
Okay.
And so sometimes we have to go along in life and then get exposed to something before we realize, oh, hey, I like that, and I'm actually good at it, and that could lead to a new career.
Absolutely. Absolutely, positively, excellent advice and thought, Kristen. Thank you for that. That also implies your eyes are open and you're listening and you've got a pulse and you're alive and you go, you know, that's interesting. I might explore that. And then doing something about it, not just saying, well, that's for somebody else. And then again, that Idaho wind just blows you around and you're, you know, not ending up where you want to be. So Kristen, good advice. Thank you. Here's what I would have everybody do, and we're going to end on this. I would encourage you, and you may be perfectly content with your career and you've thought about it, etc., and that's great. I'm going to put some thoughts on the side over here. And I hopefully can type without too many errors here. And the start one is, do you have a career? Do you like it? The next one is, should you change or should you stay? And the next one is, what do I need to do? That may be for both. So if you stay, what do I need to do to keep my career going, to keep it strong, to keep it vital? Or if it's like, you know, I need to make a change. What do I do about that? And then I think you decide. I think you take your decision to the Lord in prayer, and then you act on the answers. Okay? And again, I'm not saying anybody has to change. If you guys have things working great and you're happy, you know, you don't even need to go through this. You say, I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and life can be good. And this list, after our so what question here, you know, do you have a career? Do you like it? Should you change? What do I need to do? Decide, take it to the Lord. I think that can be something that you guys can help with this and help go make this happen. Careers in human resources, I want to change direction here a little bit. They are anywhere from people on the benefit side, which is what I do, people that work on employee relations, meaning making sure that people are getting along and the company is in the right spot. It can be payroll. It can be training, which is another topic tonight we're really not going to spend a lot of time on. It can be all kinds of different aspects of the benefits career. It can be recruiting or hiring. You name it. There's a lot of careers in human resources, and like a couple of you said, there's lots of ways to get there. It isn't just one way. You can get there 20 different ways or 1,000 different ways, and most people do. So I hope this was an okay discussion tonight. I've talked more than I like to, so I hope I'm not just up here flapping my gums, because you guys have the answers far more than I do. But I'm passionate about this. I think it's important that people pick a career and do what they want, whether it's paid or not, whether it's, you know, what the world thinks is a great thing or not. Again, I'll come back to pointing that example at moms, is that the world doesn't necessarily value mothers very well, and it is probably the most important career on earth or in history, because without good moms, where would we be? And again, a shout out with special gratitude to those people. So again, moms don't necessarily have to be bearers of children. That, as we've learned in several recent conferences, there's lots of great teachings on that said you can have a mother's heart and not be an actual mom. But whether it be that or a trade or a public servant or you name it, there's all kinds of goodness that comes from picking what you want to do and sticking with it, and changing if that's not what you should do. Final thoughts before we end for the night?
I think we just can't be afraid of change. I think that's the biggest problem. You know, life seems to change anyway, whether you like it or not. So do we learn to embrace it? I think we need to.
Okay. Good, Rex. That's good advice. I think you guys have heard my story on, I didn't change my career, but we ended up moving about as polar opposite as you could. We came from a big city in Phoenix and ended up in the small town of Idaho Falls. And a year ago, I never would have dreamed this would have been there. So I did kind of what Rex said, is that a change came up. I had to change positions, and I made a change, and we made a lifestyle change to go with that. And so far, so good. Doesn't mean it's easy at all, but it's what the Lord wanted us to do, and we've been blessed because of that. So, any other final thoughts?
I just keep thinking of that video of Elder Holland where he's with his son in the truck and they pray to know which road to go down, and they end up going down the wrong road and turn around and come back and head down the right road. And the son says something to the effect of, why did Heavenly Father tell us to go down there? And this whole discussion is making me think of that sometimes we're sent in one direction so we can see that is exactly where we're not supposed to be, or exactly what we don't want, so that then when we turn around and go the other way, we know exactly what to do and we won't question it.
Again, wonderful counsel. Thank you, TC, on that, because that is a great video. And if you haven't seen it or haven't seen it for a while, and I'll find it and post it on our Google community. It's a good one for us to look at. It's been a couple of years that one's been out, but it's again, as many of those are, they're classics. So, all right. Any other final thoughts? If not, we'll end for tonight. Thank you for the 6 of you for being here. I really appreciate the fact you take the time to be here. I thank everybody in our class for watching and having a good discussion, but I certainly thank you guys for coming and taking the time and putting your faces in front of our class and taking the interest in adding comments. So We'll look forward to next week. We're in week 7, so the end of week 8 is our next doohickeys paper. Hopefully you guys are well on your way to getting that done. And everybody's doing great in the class, and we're having some fun and hopefully learning a few things. So you guys have a great night, okay?
Yes, thank you, Brother Bonnie.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Thanks.
you.
Hopefully a good discussion in your books.
Definitely.